Alrighty, hey everybody, welcome to About the Arts. This is a monthly program featuring Tim Nielsen from the Trails End Art Gallery and the featured artist of the month for the Art Walk. Today we have with us Nicola Wheston and her lovely assistant sitting over there.
Michael Barker.
Michael Barker. I believe that is your husband?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
So I've heard.
So you've heard. Well, welcome everybody. Again, for those of you that are out there listening that aren't aware, or those of you streaming online, this is a monthly show that we do, again, with Tim from the Trails End Gallery before the first Thursday Art Walk of the month, right before you guys go over and talk at the gallery for the Art Talk. So welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you guys for coming. So, Nicola, go ahead and introduce yourself. I said your name, but tell us a little bit about who you are and what brings you to Chewelah.
My name is Nicola Wheston. I truthfully had never heard of Chewelah until a gallery in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which I have been represented by for 18 years. The owners of the gallery have their summer place on Loon Lake in the last year and a half, and they met Tim, and through John, who's the owner of that gallery, he introduced me to Tim, and he said, there's a gallery down here I'd like you to meet. So I came down here and met Tim, and I liked the gallery, and I really liked what he was doing. He said, would you like a solo show? And I went, yeah, I'd love a solo show.
Nice.
And the fact is, John thought of me because I don't live very far from here. I only live 4.5 hours from here in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he thought of me because I'm not that far away, and that's how it all turned out.
Nice. You know, the whole, I've never heard of Chewelah before. We get that a lot, don't we, Tim?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, but you know what? We try to make sure that people don't forget us on the way out. So there's that. I don't know. You might not. I doubt it.
No, I remember.
Yeah. All right. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to be seeing here. A little bit about maybe your art style, some of the mediums you use.
Well, the paintings that I have in the gallery are all smaller paintings. Mm-hmm. They're little ones which are 11 by 9 inches, but the average one is 20 by 20 inches, which actually for me is very small.
Okay.
Generally, I work very big, and because of the nature of the gallery, the nature of the space, and because of what I'm doing right now is currently smaller than I used to do. Whereas the last show I had before this, which was before COVID, the paintings were 16 feet.
Wow.
So, or 6 feet was more average. So this is a smaller show of still lifes and trees. The trees are kind of a separate entity to what I normally paint, but I still always paint trees. I just like trees.
Yeah.
They're just to me, they're amazing. So I'm always painting them. Everywhere I live, I paint the trees. And through painting the trees, I get to know where I live. And
I like that.
You know, I've lived on the coast for over 30 years. And at the moment when I'm in Canada, I live just north of the border in a little town called Kimberley.
Okay.
And my kids live there. I don't know it very well, but I got to know it better last year. I painted trees. And
Nice.
likewise, Mexico, which I've lived in now a long time, a lot of the time part-time, 6 months, sometimes full-time. And I really got to know that from painting the trees, especially because I spent 10 years of that time. I had a place that was really in the jungle, and I got to know the jungle painting trees. Then mostly what I started out was a figurative painter, and that translates also into still life.
Right.
So the paintings I have here are all still life paintings.
Yeah.
And what I like to paint is the odd, the everyday junk that we all have.
I love it.
Everyday oddball stuff. We look at it every day. We use the same thing every day. So with this show, I went, okay, I'm doing little few still lives here. So I got people around me to give me things. I said, okay, to my daughter, give me some odd objects that you always look at.
Yeah.
And give them to me. So she gave me one thing to start off with, which was a little jar, which I have there, of maple syrup. And her and her family, they go out every spring and they tap all the random trees along the street and they make their own maple syrup.
Huh.
And so she gives me the maple syrup. She says, you can paint this, Mum, but you're not allowed to eat it.
That's my syrup.
Because it's liquid gold. It's my syrup. I went, okay. And of course, I'm looking at this and it's so beautiful. Of course, I undo it and we both take a little nip of it and it's divine. So, of course, I painted it and it's beautiful. It's like it's got a real shimmering, clear goldness to it. So that was how that painting came about.
Nice.
So I did a whole bunch of little paintings of little objects that she'd give to me.
Yeah.
And then I asked Michael here, I said, okay, what do you want me to paint? So he fishes out every old tool he can find. Paint this. What about that? What about this? And of course, they're all the same tonal value, the same grey colour, and a few odd bits of colour. Tools. But the truth is,
that didn't please her at all.
No.
No.
I like tools, so I went, okay. And I've done a lot of paintings with tools, so yeah, I painted all his tools in another painting, which is another one I have here.
Yeah.
But again, it goes kind of with the previous show, which I've described to you, which was all on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all the garbage we collect. So for that show, I built these huge berms of garbage in my studio.
Are you calling my tools garbage?
No, I'm talking garbage. I went to the recycling and the garbage and got the garbage all into my studio, and I did paintings of it. One of the paintings from that series is in the gallery, and it's called Roadside Garbage.
Outstanding.
So
I love it.
even garbage to me is interesting to paint.
So you say you're from Canada. You live part-time in Mexico.
Yes.
But your accent suggests maybe somewhere else thrown in there too. Tell us a little about your background, your history with art. Yeah.
I'm English.
Mm-hmm.
My background's English. I was born in England. I grew up in England. I studied art in England.
What part, if you mind me asking?
Of southern England,
Okay.
Kent and London. I was born in London.
Okay.
And then I grew up in Kent, and then I went to art, studied at art school in Oxford, and I was really lucky to have a classical training. It was very old school, and that's what I got. And then when I was 22, I finished there, and I decided to move to Canada, to emigrate to Canada.
What brought about that decision?
At 22?
Yeah. just out of being in the wilds in Canada?
It was actually 4 reasons, because and there were all 4 reasons I thought about them, and I didn't give it a lot of thought until I read this article of some magazines my sister brought to me from England.
Mm-hmm.
I was interviewing all people who had emigrated to other countries and why.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, that's interesting. So I read it and I went, well, that actually fits me as well.
Yeah.
So one was really wanting wilderness. I always wanted to live in a beautiful place.
Right.
And I have always lived in beautiful places.
Right.
I live in a beautiful place now. I lived on a beautiful island for 35 years. I've just always lived in beautiful places since I left England. And I also grew up in England as a child, when a lot of it hadn't been rebuilt.
Yeah.
After World War II in the 50s. And it was a very different picture of growing up than what people got in North America.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
So I came to the States when I was 18. I went, I actually want to live here.
Yeah.
So then I went back to England to go to college, and I came out. That was a big incentive. It was wilderness, less people.
Mm-hmm.
It was less people. It was a much easier going society. You weren't stratified like you are in England. It's very much,
Yeah.
it's very rigid bound. And in those days there wasn't a lot of opportunity. So there was a lot more opportunity in North America and Canada and the States than there was in England. So those were the 4 reasons: was opportunity, the society, the beauty in the space, and less population.
We can all do with less people in our lives, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's my quick answer of why. As to the why, and I'm one of those rare people that I never actually looked back. I actually have been happy with my choice.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I love that. And I love your story of the trees, of getting to know the trees, getting to know your surrounding by knowing the trees. That's beautiful. I love that.
There's another element of trees, which is an amazing side of it, is if you paint trees, especially when you go outside. I do a mixed bag. Sometimes I go outside, sometimes I'll take a bunch of photographs. It depends on where the tree is and how convenient it is, or I can get myself out there. But if you're painting it outside, especially when I used to do really big trees outside, and I'd be out there for days, and after a few days I'd be sitting out there and everybody in the forest would be curious. Well, who's that? What's that? And they'd all look at me, and I'd be painting away, and there'd be a couple of little sore wet owls looking at me. There'd be an otter that would cruise by. There'd be all these animals would come up to you because I'm still, and I was quiet, and I'm just painting. And that was always my favorite part.
Oh, I love that.
Except for one time when I was painting a tree that was partly cutting across my view, and it started moving, and then I looked down, and as far away as you are, there was a little beaver taking it down.
Oh, wow.
It kept cutting the tree down. It was just, so that's my...
Rude.
You really?
Right?
That was my, I'd say that's my favorite part of doing trees, is you get to know everything around them as well.
Oh,
They're fun to paint.
We actually had our own interaction with an otter right here in Chewelah. We have a creek running through our backyard, and there's a little baby otter that was pretty badly injured. Jumped out of the creek and started chasing us around the yard, beep, 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 beeping at us. And we all were running from him. I was yelling at the kids, "Oh, stay away, you don't know what's happening here." And my wife walks over, and reaches down and pets the thing. And all of a sudden, it laid on its back and flopped its belly, wanted its belly rubbed. It was the most bizarre thing. So we brought it into the local rescue place, and she now lives at the Kansas City Zoo as part of their freshwater otter breeding program. Yeah.
And how did it get here?
It went through the creek in our backyard. We have otters, freshwater otters. That live
I
here.
know, but it seemed domesticated right away.
Right, it did. It was injured. I think it was looking for help.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
All right.
But yeah, sorry, this interview's not about me.
Uh-huh.
So, Tim, do you have any questions? Is there anything you'd like to say to Nicola here? Am I putting you on the spot?
No, I'm just enjoying the show.
Yeah,
And,
as you do.
I will say it is interesting, like meeting John Strawn and his wife Karen Jananian. Just someone asked, when people ask me, how do you find artists or whatever, and I like this kind of, it's just been interesting to connect with people and then to have them go, hey, are you interested in an artist? I've got know this person, and it just takes you off on that tangent, and here we are, a year or 13 months later, she's in the gallery.
Do you find, Tim, that now, how many years have you been doing this art walk now, or the art gallery
In the
general?
ninth year.
Ninth year.
Yeah.
Do you find now that you have to do less seeking out of artists and have more people recommend you, or have more artists seek you out?
I honestly don't really think about it too much. I just kind of follow the currents.
That makes sense.
I mean, we're booked out almost 2 years, but you always keep like a slot open for something like this, because fun things happen as you get to know more and more people in the art world, whether it's an artist or whether it's a person like, John and Karen that have a gallery that Nicola just happens to show at in Puerto Vallarta. So I think it's a fun connection, and who knew? I mean, he came in and looked around the gallery like, really? In this little town of Chewelah, and then that has a summer place in Loon Lake. So
Right.
it's just a really fun set of circumstances, I guess, that has brought us to this point.
I hear that a lot from people that go into your art gallery, especially people from other places. They don't expect to find something like that in a place like Chewelah. We get a lot of that. I don't expect to find that in a place like Chewelah. That seems to be a common thread, much like I've never heard of Chewelah.
Well, and this too, Nicola is our first international artist.
Oh,
Seriously,
really?
that we've had. you know.
Congratulations.
So yeah,
That's cool. Catherine online says, hi, welcome to Chewelah.
Thank you.
We do have people watching online, and they can comment in real time as we go along.
Oh, great.
So we might get some more questions later on. But in the meantime, I want to talk a little bit about some of the mediums you use. I know you talked about some of your inspiration. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. What do you have preferred paint styles, materials you use?
Mostly, my paint, more or less mostly in oils.
Okay.
When I was younger, I did intaglio printmaking, but now I mostly do oils. It's just straight oil paint. I paint wet paint into wet paint. It's pretty basic. I like oil paint because what you mix is what you get. With the
Right.
acrylic, you can dry lighter, darker. It changes. Whereas oil is you mix the color and you do get what you mix and what you get. So I find it has a lot more free reign to play with color.
Okay.
And for me, that is, another person would say something very different. Also, I like the viscosity of it because the way it suits the way I paint.
Yeah.
With the viscosity, I like it that it doesn't dry immediately.
Right.
That works for me. Whereas I don't want it drying straight away.
Right.
And also, it was what I was taught in. So my initial training was in oil, and it started from there. And I've done watercolor, I've done acrylic, I've done different types of painting. The other thing I do other than oil painting, which interestingly enough came about through COVID. I've always drawn, and I've just drawn just for the sake of drawing. I do a lot of life drawing. I've done it all through the years, so just to keep my skill set up, because mostly what I paint is realism, so I need that skill set.
Right.
But in COVID, I started drawing for online, and I did a whole series of drawings of daily life. So I got into, because I'm not happy with just graphite, I have to have color. So I really seriously got into colored pencils. So now alongside of doing oil painting, I do a lot of color pencil drawings as well. And that came
fantastic.
later in life, at this time in my life, which is interesting to me.
Wow. So you mentioned about the viscosity of the oil paints. And I notice, I look at your photo, and you see this a lot with oil paints. They have that body, that texture.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times with acrylic paints, they tend to dry. Not only do they change color, they dry a little flat. They don't. You lose all that texture. Is that a big part of designing your paintings? Really bringing out the textures of what you're painting.
Yeah, it's partly because the way I paint is immediate. I paint in a very immediate way, and I work back into the paint. Whereas I don't generally do layer upon layer upon layer of glazes. I just
Right.
work immediately in impasto right onto the canvas, and I manipulate it right there on the canvas. And that's why I want it to be wet.
Yeah.
With these ones, I can work them pretty quickly over a few days. I can do them, but some of them take me longer, and I have to go back into them. If I do a big painting, I have to work them in areas. So I can work the paint at the same time as working something really big. It's like a small painting, they're fun because they're immediate. I paint them, I just do them. Whereas when I do a big painting, I'm building the painting.
Right.
Rather than just doing the painting. It's a different animal.
Right. I was going to ask about some of your transition from larger work to smaller work. Was that part of the reason why? Was there a conscious decision there? Was it more functional about being able to travel with your pieces, or?
It was quite a few things that happened. One, I had a very big studio for years, and I sold my studio. I decided to say because I was doing something else, and there
Right.
were other things that cut across. That's why I did it. And I was in a smaller place, so I started to paint a little bit smaller. And also the fact of getting older, I haven't got the capacity to stand as long as I used to stand.
Gotcha.
To work on a big painting, you stand for hours and hours and hours and hours. So,
Yep.
and I tended to paint with my whole body rather than this.
Yeah.
So painting small it's more manageable for me now.
Okay. Now
Also,
that you're
I
in your,
think
now
it-
that you're in your 40s.
Now I'm in my
So-
40s. Also, it also came about from doing the drawings I did for that while. I
Yeah.
did this whole, well, I wasn't painting, I was just drawing. And then I realized I like working like this. And then it translated into my paintings, kind of.
Can I interject here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've known you for a few years now, and I know that you lived in the jungle for quite a while, and that you had in order to get to where you lived in the jungle, you had to take a
That was
a
ridiculous.
boat, a little boat from Puerto Vallarta down to Yalapa, as it's
And then
called.
I'd have
and then you'd have a painting that was 4 feet by 6 feet, and you'd be holding it in the boat, as it was hitting the waves and everything like that, as you were bringing it into your gallery in Puerto Vallarta, and it was acting like a sail,
And John was like, don't you think it's time you moved out of the jungle?
Why does that seem like one of the most like British expat things to do in my mind? Be on your boat with your painting, go onto your island. I love that image. I want to see the film of that. Honestly,
Yeah.
There is a part of me that I wished I had done a film or really documented all that time there, because right down to where I lived, how everything was. I didn't document any of it, but it was it was an interesting time. Instead, I just dream about it now.
Right. Every good artist should always travel with their own documentarian.
Yeah,
Right. Film crew.
Really.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So you brought some. Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off? I didn't
Nope.
mean. Okay. So you brought some of your pieces in. Tim, are you ready to start talking about those? We'll try to get some of those on camera. Let's see. I set up a new camera today, but I forgot to set it up on a tripod to get it over there. So let me. Do you want me to try to hold the camera, Tim?
You tell me.
You want me to hold the camera?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So pardon us, everyone out there on the air. If you go ahead and just grab that camera off of the tripod there, the one with the light on it. Yeah, the actual light there. Yeah, yep. Go ahead and you have to hold really still. Just lift it up. It's just
Okay, clicks on.
yeah. Just pull the bottom down. It's just sort of sitting on there. Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. There you go.
Great. All right.
Alrighty,
So
here
you're
we
gonna
go.
start with the trees. I'm gonna start with the trees. I can talk about
All right. Oh, that's pretty good right there. Very nice.
that one. Is that tree's on Vashon Island in Washington, and it's in a friend of ours' land, and he turned this land into the most beautiful treescape of every kind of maple you could imagine, and rhododendron, and it's like a fairy wonderland. And this was a cherry tree that he had that was in full bloom this spring. I had to paint it.
Yeah.
And his name is Mr. Shook, so it's called Mr. Shook's cherry tree.
Mr. Shook, how is that?
Shook.
Okay, just like
Mr. Shook.
just like the Shook. That's awesome.
And he's also, because of him, he's just the sweetest person you could possibly meet. And he is completely at one with his trees.
Oh,
He's wonderful.
that's a beautiful tree. So that was one on his property.
It's one of his properties. And his whole creation of his trees, of where he's planted them on his property, are unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah.
It's it's fairy wonderland. It's gorgeous on Vashon Island.
It does seem like a place I'd want to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
That's that one.
All right. Are you doing okay? They're holding the camera.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. If you want to, we can set it on the drum or something over there.
No,
but-
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, great.
This one is they're aspens. I paint a lot of aspens. They're so interesting because they're such a big, huge biomass.
Yeah.
They share the same root system.
Yes, they do.
They're one of the biggest plants on the earth, so they're always interesting to me. They're such a different animal, and that is where I'm currently living in Canada. It was just on a path, and in the morning they look like that with the way the sun's hitting there. They're just beautiful.
Gorgeous.
They're just I have done them. Basically, I paint aspens just because I don't really understand them. They're a very different animal, different kind of plant.
I know the quaking aspens, like you said, their root structures grow out and they actually sprout new trees. From the root structure,
Yes.
because the root structure is very shallow.
And the root structure is massive.
It is, yeah.
And it's like one whole forest can share one root structure. So it's is it the biggest plant on the planet?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's really a big plant.
I remember reading something years ago about a forest that was basically essentially one organism, and it was the
Yes.
largest one in the world. And I can't remember where that was.
And
But I know
those
what
are
you're talking about.
aspens.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
why they always interest me, because they are really different.
And I run in this area. They were actually, I believe, in the 70s and 80s. They were imported in as an ornamental tree that kind of grew out of control.
Oh,
And-
the big
and now-
root system.
Yeah, and not thinking about the root system
Crazy.
because they're beautiful trees. So the quaking aspens are now all over the place here with the root systems that grow and grow. So a little trivia for you.
Invasive species.
Yes, we had one in our yard. Actually, we had two in our yard, and every year I was having to, through the grass, the little saplings kept coming up
And you had to keep
from the
dealing
roots,
with
and
the
I had to keep
There it
dealing with
is.
them. Yeah,
That
yeah,
root system
Yeah.
is amazing.
Alrighty.
This one's the toolbox. This is the tools that Michael, I said, pick what you want me to paint. And everything there is Michael's choice. And then I loaded them all into a box and painted. And I thought, what about adding a flowery cloth behind as the complete opposite?
I love that.
So I like painting tools. They are actually really fun to paint, and they're all interesting designs and shapes. And
Well, they're so different. You get like the rust spots and the different angles. Yeah.
I've always liked tools. So I like things that are useful, and they all have a job, and I like that. And that's why I paint a lot. They do quite a few paintings of tools.
yeah.
Okay, you can put the next one. This one's
So
the
I got lost in that for a second.
shopping. That's just coming back with shopping, and
Oh, that's
that day
amazing.
bought a bunch of fruit and veg and loaded it onto the table and painted it.
I love that. So this was an actual grocery trip from the store that you.
Yeah, it is a grocery trip. It was all the things that were there, and they were pretty much a grocery
Yeah.
trip. And
I love it.
that one kind of goes along with the stuff paintings that I did, were more similar to that I did. I did also, the other part I did with still life with that kind of painting there's another group that I did, it was shown in 2017, which were puzzles. I did a whole bunch of still life paintings that were puzzles, which were painted on 4 boards,
Okay.
and they could go 4 different ways. And they had to
cool.
work in every single way. So that was another one. And that painting is similar to what I was doing with those paintings.
So no matter which way you arranged it, it all still made a complete picture.
Yes.
I love that. That's great.
It made a complete piece.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I had to keep up with her on this painting because I'm the designated cook, and stuff was starting to go a little south, and so I said get that pepper into the
Nice.
curry.
And I don't care if it goes bad. I just continue painting. It can be
Right?
growing, and I'll continue painting. But yeah, I don't
So-
like waste either.
I've seen some spoiled fruit paintings and artwork that's
Ah.
pretty magnificent actually.
There's a woman, I don't know who it is, and I don't know the names, who makes big fruit that has rotted, and it's all done with beading.
Have
you seen that?
That's exactly what I had in my head. Yes, I've seen those
Ah,
pictures.
extraordinary. I saw those, and they were amazing. I have to look up who that is.
They look like actual fruit,
Fruit.
until the camera pans in and it's beads.
It's all
yeah,
beads, and they're extraordinary.
they really are. They
Yeah,
really
I
are.
don't know who the artist is. I have to look that up.
I keep seeing that, especially the last couple of months. I've seen it quite a bit.
It must be. I must have seen it on Instagram.
Yeah.
It was on social media feed, and it was some museum show. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I
I-
really stopped me in my tracks, and I looked at those. I thought, wow, that's amazing.
Her work is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal.
It is amazing.
I agree.
And is this a maple jar?
This is the maple syrup.
Yeah.
This is the maple syrup tapped from the local trees along the pavement on the sidewalk. All the maple trees along there. They tap them and set up with my grandchildren a big, pan of maple syrup, and they cook it on a fire right out there in the yard.
Nice.
Boil it and boil it and boil it and boil it.
Yeah, you got to boil that stuff down a lot, right?
Really a lot.
Yeah.
Really a lot. And it's a very different flavor because it's a Western maple. It isn't I know the maples out east too, because I have lived
Right.
out east in Canada. The sugar maple is different, but it has a very different flavor than the sugar maple,
Yeah,
which you'd get in Quebec and Ontario and the States in Vermont.
That's the good stuff there. We get.
Yes.
I know we have Norwegian maples in our yard, and I've looked into it, and they say you can make syrup with it, but meh.
But you need, like for these, you need a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
Just to get a little jar. So when I'm given a little jar, I'm very much policed with it. I'm not allowed to touch it.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandchildren are looking at it. Have you been in there? They police me with it.
Oh, yeah. How many gallons of sap do you think it takes to make that little jar?
To make that little jar, it was like a whole pan like this.
Like a big vat?
Big, not a vat, like a big, I would say it was about, was it about 4 inches high?
Okay.
About a couple of feet wide.
Yeah. Wow.
And boiling it and boiling it and boiling it and boiling it.
Yeah.
Over days, they did it.
Wow.
It's a backyard project every spring.
Yeah.
They do.
I love that. All right. And what do we have here?
Oh, that was we had this little house, and in the greenhouse, we sit in the greenhouse sunroom. In the morning, I have our tea and coffee, and this little bottle was sitting there because Michael's got tomato plants growing there, and I love looking at the light cast of shadows from things, and because of Mexico, living in Mexico, I really take notice of that because the light is so bright there.
Right.
And it causes such interesting shadowing. And because it had water in it, the sunlight hit it, and it was on that green, and it was just the two complementary colors, and this tremendous red light that flashed across. So what I did, I went, oh, that's only going to last a few minutes. I photographed it so I could get the shape of it.
Right.
And then I took it into the studio where I paint. I managed to get it posed in a place where some light hit it, where I had some of that color that I could replicate. So I had the bottle there, and I painted it, and I could, from the photograph of when I caught that shadow, because it's only lasts a couple of minutes and it's changing.
Right. Right.
So I caught that, and it had the light on one side, the white on one side, and that red on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it there. I did some in Puerto Vallarta like that with orange juice, which would do the same thing, and it'd be just bright orange.
Huh.
Shadow. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
I love that. Yeah.
The maple syrup has a little bit of that too, where the maple syrup has influenced the shadow.
Oh, I would imagine.
The
Wh-
sort of goldness of it. You can see it.
And,
So-
and with the viscosity, I would imagine that would create
Yeah.
different patterns with the light, different waves.
Yeah, it's and with a little painting like that, I have to be really immediate the way I paint it to
Right,
catch
right.
that. I struggled with that one a bit to get that. The color right was really challenging.
Does this little bottle have any sort of sentimental value to you?
Yeah, it was your present who gave it to me. It was the first present he gave to me was
Aw.
that bottle.
I'm always plugging myself.
So was it a gift out of necessity, or was it a gift because
Oh, it's
it was
because
a
I
beautiful
liked
bottle?
it. Because I
Oh, good.
liked it.
Good.
We were working in a. This was after I'd moved. I met Michael in Puerto Vallarta, and it was after I had lived in the jungle, and I moved into Puerto Vallarta, and I met Michael there. We were both working in an art center there. I was teaching there, and he was running part of it, and we made friends there. That was how we met. And because I liked that bottle that was in the little store in the art center,
Yeah.
he got it for me.
Oh. I think I share a love of. I love bottles, glass bottles. You should see my cabinets. I can't throw anything glass away. I have a hard time.
And that's not glass. That's
Oh, it's
just
not?
plastic.
It's plastic.
It's as cheap as
It
cheap.
was maybe 60 cents.
I mean, it's just a
awesome.
cheap. But I liked it because it was
Better
bright
than
red.
flowers, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like the bright
Yeah.
red. And here I've never seen anything like that sold here in Canada or in the States. I don't think I've even seen it here when I've been here. But in Mexico, they sell all manner of oddball plastic stuff.
Huh.
I mean, you name it, they have it in every bright color and all as cheap as can be. And some of the things are really useful, and you just can't get them up here.
Right.
Definitely can't get them in Canada.
Right.
And there's, plastic spray bottles. Like we can get the white ones, the regular ones, but I've never seen those little round, colorful ones.
I love
As
that.
I said earlier, I really like random, odd things that
Who
we
knew
use.
spray bottles could be exotic?
I know, right?
And a turn on.
Wow.
And there's so many things that if you go to, they have these big markets, they're called tiangues, and each area will have a tiangue. Oh, and it's just filled with the cheapest, plasticest stuff you can find. And
Wow.
I love those things. And some of the stuff is really useful. So I bring it back with me because, I can use that in Canada. That bottle came back with me. And
Yeah.
there's so many things, like even like the cheapest kind of lime squeezer. You can't get those. So,
Oh yeah.
and things to scrub pots with. I mean, random objects. So Mexico has different things.
Yeah.
But each country does, and I've always loved that. When I go to a different country, I'll go and look at their food and all the different foods they sell.
Yeah.
And then all the different household utensils. And when I watch movies, foreign movies from other countries, I'm always looking in the background what the decor is and what are the odd, random objects that are used
Yes.
in that country.
I love looking at different areas and different countries, like kitchen cabinets. There's different.
Oh, yeah.
You go to Europe, France. They have removable cabinets. When people move, they
You can
take
move
their
them.
cabinets out with you. I did a garage like that once. There was someone that came from England. They brought their cabinets with them, and they bought a house here. And they were like, "We didn't realize houses had cabinets." No, I think they were from France. I think. And,
Everything's open.
yeah, and they brought their cabinets with them because they wanted to make sure they had cabinets, and they were living temporarily somewhere for a while they were house hunting, and they're like, "Oh, we brought our cabinets because we thought we were going
And
to need them."
nothing fit here. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other
So-
thing that you see in England, Europe, is people really are not, and Mexico, they're not afraid of color.
Yeah,
Really not afraid of color.
yeah. There's a lot of bland beige.
Beige.
Is a very popular color.
Beige and grey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, spare me from beige and grey. My kitchen's painted bright red.
Ooh, nice.
So
And white.
and white, bright red and white. So I really like color.
Nice.
In anywhere I live, I've really used color, but yeah, generally North America is very beige and grey.
I think we're about to do our kitchen cabinets green, like a nice sort of mint green color. It'd be nice, yeah.
When I first came to Canada, everything was was the 70s. And,
Yes.
and of course, I grew up with a mother who was just gifted interior designer. And we always had, everything was beautiful. Everything she touched was beautiful. And I came to Canada, and the outside was beautiful, the trees were beautiful, the wilderness was beautiful. But the houses, that was the fashion of the avocado-coloured kitchens,
Yes.
appliances, and the shag rugs, and the fake panel board living rooms, and the plastic on the furniture. And I arrived, and I didn't even know what I was looking at. I was shocked. I didn't know what it was I was looking at.
It's funny. A lot of the old appliances and stuff are pretty popular now.
Yeah.
Find old vintage refrigerators that are that mint green, old shag rugs. They're
Shag is getting popular again.
oh yeah.
Oh, boy.
No, that's
Oh,
not
yeah.
a thing I liked at all.
I
It
think
was-
it shivered a little bit.
the fashion when I came here, which really shocked me, was there was a type of carpeting that they sold for kitchens. The
Yes.
carpeted kitchens. Oh, that was terrifying.
I remember we had a house in the 80s. My parents took out the linoleum, which was bad enough on its own, but they took out the linoleum and put in some commercial kitchen carpet. And it was so gross. We didn't even live in that house that long, maybe 2 or 3 years. And by the time we moved out of that house, it was so disgusting. It wasn't even the same color anymore. You couldn't shampoo it. And for the life of me, even as a kid, I was like, why would you guys put carpet in the kitchen? It didn't make sense. We had a house with carpet in the bathroom. And not even that commercial carpet, but the longer, not quite a shag, but like just regular old carpet up the side of the tub. Oh,
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Horrible stuff. Oh. Yeah, bad stuff.
Now everything's grey.
Yeah,
It's all post-industrial.
yeah. And sometimes gray can be nice with some as a background to color, but
Yeah.
I know what you mean. There's a lot of walls that are just gray.
Grey.
I think in the early 2000s, late 90s, there was a whole industrial fad. Everybody wanted everything stainless steel and gray.
Grey,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
As a painter, it's always a little sad to me because colour is so amazing. But
It is.
again, colour is in my painting. It's always been a big component of it.
It is. Yeah, I think, luckily I was fortunate enough I grew up in a very beige, I will call it a beige household, a beige family, and discovered color later in life. So, so I'm fortunate enough I was able to sort of break out of my
Break
shell.
free.
And, yeah, and discover the beauty of color. So you tonight, tell us, do you have any big plans for your art talk later on? You're going to be at the brewery. Are you excited about that? You're going to have a slideshow?
I'm going to have a slideshow, and I'll be showing, the different types of painting I do. And I'm also going to show a little bit of my process on how especially the larger paintings, how they actually come about, how I actually paint them.
Ooh, great.
So I have photographs of that so people can see the journey that some of them go through. And some of those big paintings go through quite an adventure.
Yeah,
They do go through quite an adventure.
great. So at the brewery, the art talk, that starts at what time, Tim?
Well, I think the doors open at 6 or 6:15. I'm set up by 6:30, and the talk usually starts a little before 7. We wait till people get in, get settled, and visit, and get going on their first lovely courtside brew. And and there's always the right time to start it.
Yep. So tell us a little bit more about who is going to be presenting and where this art walk.
Okay, we've got Kaya Lilly is at Westhoff's.
Okay.
Becky Goforth is at the brewery.
And never mind, we'll talk about it when you're done. Go ahead, keep going.
Catherine
Sorry.
James at the Yale Press. I think I got that right. And then, of course, Nicola Wheston at Trails and Gallery. And you can put a plug in for the
Yeah.
Creative District space.
Yeah, so the Creative District, we are doing a community gathering, and it is an opportunity fair is what we're calling it. And basically, we're going to have John Raymond from 395 Coffee. We're going to have Shannon Simpson with Shannon Sweets there. She's where they're going to have some of their products available, some samples. But what we're going to be doing is having signups basically for other organizations. We're hoping to work this into our regular sort of our information booth. We don't have any artists this month. We're hoping to bring those back soon. But what we're going to be doing is we want to sort of have it be a hub that functions every month during the Art Walk for organizations looking for volunteers, looking to put out RFPs, as well as people looking to volunteer and be a part of the community and offer their services to connect with these organizations that need the help. As we sort of move forward through time, as we tend to do, a lot of the, especially around here, a lot of the organizations members, the people that have been doing the work, the good work for so many years are, not getting younger and trying to get some more people. And a lot of times, we have a lot of these organizations have been the same people involved for a lot of years. Trying to get some more people, and everybody's always looking for volunteers. Volunteers are always looking for places to help with.
Sure.
So we're trying to connect those two. So yeah, it's gonna be great. And I was gonna say, Tim, earlier. So Kaya, that's over at Westoff Excavation, is a former art teacher here.
Yes,
Is
that's
that
what I
correct?
was told.
Yeah.
I haven't met her personally, so
Okay, so I don't remember if they said from the elementary school or Jenkins. But okay, Tim doesn't know either. But yeah, no, it'd be really cool. And I know I just talked to Stephanie over there at Westoff earlier, and she's excited to have her. Hoping she'll bring some people out over there to their building to check out her work.
well, it's fun too. Stephanie takes part in the art walk quarterly, but she always puts on a really good show and is very thoughtful about it.
Right.
And it's fun. I encourage people to hit all these places. I mean, come on, really, we're just
Right.
talking. Everything is within 5 blocks. So
Yeah, I walked over there and
it's
it
pretty fun.
took about 45 seconds, maybe a minute, to get over there from downtown. So, but if you
it's
haven't
fun.
if you haven't been there and at the building that they took over, they've done a beautiful job of restoring the inside of it.
Yes.
That alone is worth going in and seeing. Just
Yeah.
that. I mean, I know it's been a while since they've done the renovations there, but really phenomenal, beautiful space inside that they've created. And I think they're going to start moving into the space next door soon, or doing some work on it. So I
Don't
don't.
know.
I shouldn't talk about stuff they're doing on the
But,
air without.
Yeah. The gallery looks great. Nicola's show looks fantastic. And, these first Thursday opening shows are really, I think the last couple that we've had around 150 people each. And we get a good turnout. And I get more and more people coming in. I had a woman yesterday come in from Kettle Falls and just go, "Holy cow! I didn't know this was here." And then we had a couple last week that saw Nicola's poster at Spokane Art Supply, and
Oh,
made a
yeah.
special trip up. They had just no idea the gallery was here. And I advertise. I'm in the annual manual in the
Right.
Inlander, which
Which
just came
came out today.
Yeah.
I got it in the mailbox today.
And we do our ads, we do posters, and we really try to get the word out, and it's fun. I think our reach. I get more and more people up from Spokane, the Spokane Valley, and it's fun. They're pleasantly surprised and very pleasantly surprised at the quality of art that's in the gallery. And so it's been really fun growing this.
Well, I'm not surprised at the quality of art, but only because I've been in there enough that I know.
Dad, and I, for my 2 cents, Tim has done a terrific job hanging my work.
Yes.
I said, have at it, and I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. He's done a lovely job, and yeah, my reaction was the same when I first saw the gallery. I went, wow, this really is an amazing gallery for a small town and in this area. He's done a great job.
He has done a great job,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much he likes us doing it, gushing over Tim and what he's done for the town. But culturally, Tim, you really have done a lot for the community. You've sort of, I won't say created so much as culture, but helped it blossom around the things that you've been doing.
Well, just
for
a
many
component
years.
of it. Like
Yeah.
I always talk about what the Arts Guild has done, and now
Exactly.
the Creative District. And my wife's an Arts Guild board member,
Mm-hmm.
and so she does a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Exactly.
And anyway, it's really I enjoy this community because everybody really rolls up their sleeves and gets into it.
Yeah.
You know, and really participates, and I think it shows, you know, not just in even the redevelopment of the town. You know, there's always been people who've worked hard in this town.
Yep.
You know, that have really pushed it, and it's nice to be a component on the cultural side. You know, but it takes all these things, I think.
Yeah. Well,
for the
that
town to be economically successful, and,
exactly.
and the culture and the people. you
Yeah.
know.
Like I said, I know you don't like taking the credit. I'm not giving you credit, Tim. I'm just saying you've been a big, bright, shiny cog in the machine, and it's appreciated.
It's good to be a cog.
So, yeah, it is. It is. And
There's
you
a
know,
lot of cogs in this town.
yeah, and you've been here to help facilitate and help sometimes move things along when they need to be moved along, and just sort of be sort of a stable hub and a gathering place, and free wine really is what it boils down to.
What?
So, alrighty, so we are about out of time for
And
the hour.
chocolate.
And chocolate. Oh yeah, that's right. I always go in there and grab a chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You don't even have to steal it. You just you can
Yeah.
look him straight in the eye and take it. He won't even care.
Exactly.
I did.
He definitely did.
You get the good dark chocolates too.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
we talk about the medicinal value of dark chocolate. Good antioxidants, you know, anything to rationalize.
That's not even that's real. I mean, that's medically documented, and I'm sticking by that.
Okay.
And you can pry my dark chocolate. Well, you can't pry it from my hands because it'll be in my mouth. So anyway, does anybody have any parting words of wisdom or anything they want to say before we get before we head out of here?
Thank you for your part in all this.
Oh no,
It's just great to have a radio station like this.
You've
It's
got a
really
wonderful
fun.
community radio
Yeah.
Oh,
radio
thank you.
station.
Thank
I'm,
you, thank you,
I'm
thank you.
familiar with them. I've spent some time in your shoes, and I'm very taken with what you do. Hats off.
well, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm still honored and blown away to be in this position and take over what Scott did here and what started and what he created in this town. So very, very grateful for all of it. But yeah, so once again, six doors
6:30.
open at 6
Yeah,
o'clock?
6:30.
6:30 tonight for the Art Talk at the Courtside Brewery. Tomorrow, Tim, tell us once again before we head out of here what to expect tomorrow at the Art Walk.
Well, it's going to be great weather.
Mm-hmm.
Good night to congregate and walk around in the town. Great art.
Mm-hmm.
5 to 8 p.m.
That's right.
And hope everyone takes part.
All right. Well, there you go. Thank you, everybody, so much. Don't forget, you can tune in right here on KCHW tonight. We have, of course, I don't have it up in front of me. Tonight we have from 6 to 8 p.m. We have Dirt Road Blues with our very own Dirt Road Doug McQuain. And then afterwards, we have, today's Wednesday, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm forgetting my schedule right now, but it's on the announcements. It's going to play in about 30 minutes. So we'll let that do the talking. I usually like to end with that. Catherine Patton says, thank you for doing this. So thank you, Catherine, for listening. That'll just about do us, and we'll get out of here and let you guys get on with your day and get set to do your art talk over there. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to KCHW 102.7, your Northern Lights Public Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I described to you my studio, that our big studio. It's now a radio station.
Oh.
And now we return you to our regular scheduled program in progress.